So let's move over to the creative subtype.
Right.
And this is going to be different attunement of the cognitive functions, but let's talk about the creative.
Okay. So creative subtypes are more sociable and creative than their other ISTJ brethren. And if you're a type geek, basically what this means is that your perceiving function, in this case introverted sensing, or what we call memory, that's going to have a more analytic bent. So it's going to be the more focused, assertive energy. But the judging function, in this case extroverted thinking or effectiveness, this is going to be more holistic. It's going to have more of a peripheral sort of openness to it. So that creates a creative subtype because there's less certainty about how to make things happen and more openness about just perceiving reality, more of an attunement to the creative process that's found in perception, as opposed to a certainty of how things have to be done. And so they're going to actually have less of a managerial bent to them. In fact, I would say that creative ISTJs are sometimes quite often mistyped, actually sometimes quite often. No, I would say that these are the ISTJs that have some of the hardest time identifying what their best fit type is, because they don't look like the stereotypical ISTJ. So some of the qualities are that they're affable, enthusiastic, expressive, friendly. They tend to be congratulatory and convey an excitement about upcoming prospects. They network and involve other people. So sometimes they even appear to be extroverts. Just like the dominant ISTJ can appear extroverted, so can the creative subtype appear extroverted. They are still focused on analytic decision-making skills, mental planning, attention to details, clear speech. So all of those are still part of the general ISTJ makeup.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit more of an awareness of other people's body language, of voice tone, of noticing visual patterns and making it personal to them. So there's a little bit more attunement to the social aspect other than just getting things done aspect. And whatever comes their way, they are really good at matching it up with where they've seen this before and then making patterns off of that. So there's a sense of kind of figuring things out as they go a little bit more than having to be so pre-planned like other ISTJ subtypes might be.
So then in contrast with maybe the more dominant ISTJ, who's real goal-oriented, setting a goal, setting an intention, going toward it, this ISTJ flavoring is more go with the flow, like letting the world happen, letting things just emerge as they go, being creative, responding to the environment as things happen along the timeline.
Right. Well, and I wouldn't say like as a general characteristic, but definitely in comparison to their ISTJ
Thank you, yeah.
counterparts.
No, they're not going to be like an ESFP, like just wing it, whatever. Like they're going to want to have plans and set things in tone, but they're more open to flexibilities and things.
Right. It's more fluid. It's more casual. It's a more engaged style. And again, they can sometimes think of themselves as being extroverts. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody with ISTJ preferences that was a creative subtype might have misidentified as having more of an extroverted style or a perceiving style. So this is a look-alike type to others, other types that are not ISTJs. And in fact, in some ways, there's almost a sense of like, well, I can't be an ISTJ. I'm not that buttoned up.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important to know that there are some ISTJs that just have a little bit more openness. Now, again, it's in comparison to other ISTJs. If something really comes out of left field, something that they weren't expecting at all, that of course is going to throw them off because they're still leading with introverted sensing or memory. And so there is still going to be a desire to know what's coming and be planned and that sort of thing. But in comparison to the others, it is definitely a more open, casual style.
Well, and I'd be interested to talk to Tanya, who we interviewed last year on the show, talking about her ISTJ experience. I'd be curious to see if she identifies more with this creative subtype because, again, she's an interior designer, a photographer. And if you, as an ISTJ, go listen to that episode, I think she shows up very different than most ISTJs, or at least talked about on the internet. So it's great to hear that. And I think I would assume she's probably in that creative framework. Again, I would let her decide for herself. I'm not going to project that onto her.
Right.
But I bet she would report, yeah, I kind of feel more creative and go with it, go with the energies of the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not definitely she is a creative. Again, she gets to decide that for herself. But it does seem that people who are attracted to things like photography or ISTJs attracted to photography and interior design, it makes sense. It would track if she did have a creative flavoring. Some of the other career options that really suit people of this style are anything in the arts, history, psychology, travel, writing. They may still have that practical side, though, that encourages them to go less in the arts and a little bit more in business or engineering. But Dario says that they might just marry everything together in something like industrial psychology.
Yeah.
So there's a practical side that goes, well, I should probably do something that will give me the best career options, but also I'm really into this thing over here, so let's try to marry it all together. But there's also a lot of creative ISTJs found in performance and acting, as journalists, as painters. And so a lot of these, again, as we mentioned, run against the stereotypes.
Yeah.